Hello and welcome to the FPL Fix. I am Richard from the Dipsy Dudes, and even though the season is only but 3 weeks old, this is the last game week before an international break. Just as I'm getting into my stride, just as I'm getting my FPL swagger on, my weekend schedule's looking great, I'm making my FPL changes on a Friday night or a Saturday morning, I'm doing my football acca, taking a walk to the bookies on a Saturday morning, I'm watching my live games at lunchtime in the evening on Sunday, and I'm watching Soccer Saturday on the Saturday afternoon. Well, we take a week off from all of that so we can watch a bunch of, no doubt, so international clashes. So there we are. But let's not get too down about it, because it's time to look ahead at game week 4 and the players for your consideration. Now, I know we started the show last week with this team, but let's be honest, they're the obvious shout for this week as well. Manchester City versus Watford is the lump-on game of the weekend, and maybe the biggest lump-on game of the season so far. 8 goals in 3 games with 0 conceded means this is where the points should be coming from, both at the back and at the front. The question to ask is, do you consider playing one of your chips for this game? Bench boost? Probably not. All-out attack? Maybe. Triple captain with Aguero? Tickle me tempted, because I tell you what, he could get something going on in that game. It's really tempting. I know it's early in the season, but that game and that fixture could be gold. I mean, we're 4 weeks in. Are they going to be using squad rotation for that game, especially the week before an international weekend? I doubt it. I think they're going to go for their full strength team. The Holy Trinity's going to be playing for Man City. All of them are going to be there. The thing is it too early to play triple captain? Is there a thing as being too early to play the chips? We've already talked about wildcards playing too early. Does that extend to chips as well? I'm not sure. I mean, to be honest, it's Aguero. It's the Etihad. It's Watford. This is what the chips were made for, right? I mean, another team playing that have yet to concede this season, playing at home as well, is Liverpool this weekend, where they host West Ham. Now, were we all guilty of just getting a little bit carried away with West Ham after that opening weekend win at Arsenal? The Hammers have conceded 6 goals in their last 2 games. They've been at home against Leicester and Bournemouth. So you'll be looking at the Liverpool attackers to come good in this game and do the business, even though they've not yet hit the heights in front of goal that they should have, much like Manchester United have done in the league. In fact, it's exactly the same as Manchester United in the league so far. Coutinho and Benteke are the only players to score for the Reds this season and are heavily backed by FPL managers, with over 20% of managers going for the Brazilian and over 40% dabbling on the Belgian. However, it is the defence where the bargains can be found. Mignolet made it 3 clean sheets in 3 and is sitting at a price of 5.1 million. No defender that is currently starting for the Reds is worth more than 5.5, including the ever-popular Nathaniel Klein. The discount player for a low-risk, low-reward spot is Gomez, who is the club's top point scorer in the Fantasy Premier League so far this season, though he has been yellow-carded in his last 2 games after a storming game week 1. This is another good bet for a clean sheet for a home team, so if you haven't already got on Liverpool defenders, get on them now. There's another home team mine to have a look at for a clean sheet. It's a bit more of a gamble, and that team is Aston Villa. Villa hosts Sunderland, and despite going 2 games without losing, which is pretty impressive for the Black Cats. They grabbed a home draw against Swansea last weekend, which was greeted like a Champions League victory by the home faithful, and in midweek in the League Cup they put 6, that's right, 6, past the mighty Exeter. On the other hand, of course, they also conceded 3 goals against the mighty Exeter. Villa haven't been awful in their first 3 games and have had moments of pretty good cohesion between them. They have no attacking threat to speak of as of yet. They do need a proper goal scorer up front, which they just don't have, but they have had some organisation in the defence. It is shaky in places because Micah Richard is still adapting to that central role in defence, but I think that Villa can hold out again for a clean sheet in this game. Though this would be a rotational defender situation, I wouldn't recommend lumping on Villa defenders for the long haul, but for a 1 week in and out rotation system, it can work. I fancy them to get some 6-pointers across the back. Bournemouth made their mark in the Premier League last week, and Callum Wilson came in as the week's big sexy point scorer with a hat-trick man of the match display. However, if you're anything like me, you didn't get to take advantage of any of those big sexy points, as he was stuck on my bench, and seeing as I had 29 points worth of players sat on my bench doing absolutely nothing for me last weekend, I really do wish that you could activate your bench boost chip retroactively once the game week has started, because otherwise I'd have been able to boost my score into something much more respectable. Anyway, much like we discussed in the season preview show, Wilson is a good shout as a budget option, and he has shown now that he can score in the Premier League. Will the goals continue this weekend as they host Leicester? I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit late as the horse has pretty much bolted at the gate, but I'd say probably worth a shout. Keep him in your team. The other newcomer from the promoted clubs, who is sat at about the same price as Callum Wilson, actually the exact same price when they both started, who still also has question marks about whether they can score in the Premier League, is Troy Deeney at Watford. And out of those two right now, I'd go for the Englishman, who has managed to get 20 goals in each of his last 2 seasons in the Championship. It is time to show him some faith, and more faith than just a bench spot. Now, a striker who I haven't mentioned once this year so far, but who has got some attention from other FPL outlets, is Stoke's Mama Bayram Diouf. Diouf has scored 2 in his last 3 games. I don't know why, but he's a player that just doesn't come to mind. I haven't got a problem with him at all. He's a good player, but when I think Fantasy Premier League striker, I just don't consider him. I don't know why. But in all the talk of your Shaqiri's and Afellay and your mainstay and Arnautovic, there's got to be someone at the front of that attack who they're feeding the ball to. And right now, Diouf is that man. I don't think I could ever characterise him as a 20-goal a season striker, though. I can see him sort of like hitting the heights. If he got 15 in a season, he'd be doing really well. But Stoke look like they can score a goal right now, and at 6.5 million, and with fewer than 5% of managers actually having him, he may be worth a dabble, to be honest with you. They host West Brom this weekend, who will be hoping to do more than their last away trip, where they just shut up shop and grinded out a bore draw at Watford. After this, Stoke have a trip to Arsenal and then host Leicester and Bournemouth before travelling to Villa Park. So Diouf might be worth holding on to for the entire month of September. Finally, let's talk about a player we didn't mention last week, as the deal was being finalised and confirmed at the time of filming. We're off to Chelsea, and it's that man, Pedro. A huge 13 points, goal, assist and man of the match display in his first game saw the £9.5 million midfielder become Chelsea's second highest point scorer of the season so far, which just shows how badly everyone else has done. This week now, it is a home game against Palace. Will this be another chance for him to shine? Just under 8% of managers went for him straight out of the traps last week, and to be honest, I wonder whether that price will rise. Will flip-floppers look to drop Hazard for him, or move money around and drop Fabregas for him? The thing is, 9.5 is an awkward price. It's too expensive for a mid-range midfielder, and it's just too cheap for a marquee player. So it's going to take some money management to bring him into your team properly. The players who have the likes of the aforementioned Fabard or Sanchez, Walcott, Memphis even, might be tempted to follow the heat and go for Pedro. He did look like a good prospect. He looked like the real deal against West Brom though. But was it enough to say, I'm gonna build my FPL team around this man? We've actually now got some interesting news about the show going forward. Not only will you be able to find the FPL Fix right here on the Dipsy Dudes channel on YouTube, but from this week you'll also be able to find us at Thin White Line, the football culture magazine. Head on over to thinwhitelinemagazine.com now to find us and many more great articles about all things football from all over the world. We'd like to thank Thin White Line magazine for playing host to us, and if this is your first dip in the cool waters of the FPL Fix, let me just say thank you for checking us out, and I hope you stick around. The Dipsy Dudes Divisional Championship. As always in the early goings, there's a lot of chopping and changing at the top, and this week sees Phoenix Blues take the top spot after a solid 59-point week. This was another team built on defensive performances with clean sheets and saves. Some good midfield showings, but we'll be looking for more from the attackers going forward, especially with Defoe sitting on the bench having scored a goal and deuce bonus points. This week's top point scorer, who almost doubled their first 2 weeks scoring, was found in joint 63rd place, with Steve Ski bagging 71 points. After playing his wild card early, he'll be happy with the performances from his Manchester defenders, Mahrez in midfield and Gomez and Diouf up top, though what might have been if his captain wasn't Memphis. Remember, if you want to be part of the Dipsy Dudes Divisional Championship, you can be. Just use the code on the screen right now, go to Fantasy Premier League, enter it, get involved with the league, and do it now. Because remember, the league closes its doors to new members at the start of game week 6. So don't delay, get playing today. Right, that's about it for the FPL Fix. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember, if you like what you see, click like, leave us a comment, or hit subscribe to ensure that you get the latest Dipsy Dudes episodes as soon as they are released. We have a social media presence on Facebook and Twitter, as well as a discussion group at fiso.co.uk. And remember, we now have a weekly feature at thinwhitelinemagazine.com. So we will be taking a break next weekend for the international fixtures, but we will be back in 2 weeks for a look ahead at game week 5. Until then, good luck to all you managers out there for game week 4, and if you're anything like me right now, you can use all the luck you can get.